Hi guys, how are you all? I'm back with yet another video. And how's the weather in your locality? Because here it's so hot and humid and it's so annoying. Today's video is about book recommendation, so just stick here and I'm gonna tell you about 5 books from historical fiction genre which you should definitely read. So yeah, if you have been here before, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome. This is Mansi from Readers and Creators. So historical fiction genre is one of my favorite genre, apart from contemporary and romance and thriller and mystery. Well, historical fiction is here and all the other genres are here, and horror, I never read that. I don't like that. Why that's my favorite? Because reading a historical fiction book, I always gain so much knowledge about history, about the wartime, about everything that happened in our past but is still affecting us in our present. I, being my favorite genre, have read so many books from this genre, but I will recommend you only those books which are easy to read and which a beginner reader can also read. And yeah, just listen to me. The first book in the list is The Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie is an Indian-born British American author, and this book, The Midnight Children, is about the post-colonial period in India, like after independence. And this is not particularly completely historical fiction. It has a touch of magical realism in it, and the history part, that's based on factual historical events. The protagonist Salim Sinai was born on exactly that time when India got independent, like at midnight, and that's why the name. So he born at midnight on 15th August 1947, and he had telepathic powers. He has some powers which were like different from normal people. So as he grew up and as he got to know about the independence or the period before that or what's happening around him, he collected children who were born at midnight like him, or who were born around 12 on 15th August 1947, and he made a group of that. He lead that group, and he concluded that every child born on that night has some special powers. So it's not like true, but it's magical realism, and the book is thick, really long. It is divided into 3 parts, where this Salim Sinai is just observing his powers and exploring them and just acquainting with other kids who were born at that time. And in second part, his family, Salim's family, is facing the distorted situation of Indians' independence and the partition of India and everything. So this book is like observant, honest, and the historical events are true, but this might seem a bit lengthy in between, but I will recommend this because overall the aggregate of this, what you get in the end, is solid, and that's why I think you should read this. Also, it was like part of some controversies because this book got so many prizes that BBC tried to make an adaptation of it in a 5 episode series, but due to pressure of Muslim community in Sri Lanka, they had to put it down. Again, Netflix wanted to adapt this with the same name, but that project was also cancelled because of community pressure. So this book is like somewhat controversial because it can't get adapted, and I love controversial books because if they are into controversy, they might have spoken something out of the normal, and I want to read that. Next is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This was published in 1982 and it won 1983 Pulitzer Prize and National Book for Fiction. Alice Walker is an American author, and she is known for this particular remarkable book, The Color Purple. Now this book is not particularly based on any historical war between countries, but this book is about deep American South between wars. The focus of this book is women, racism, domestic violence, and LGBTQ. There's lesbian love story in it also. The protagonist is Celia, and she writes letters to gods expressing her feelings, and those letters are somewhat like general, and reading them in a book was like you are reading someone's diary. It was like so personal and so connecting with the character. Later, Shug Avery arrives in the book, and her character is so bold and wild. It just totally fascinates me. She is suffering from some disease which is sexually transmitted, and Celia takes care of her. So that's Shug Avery and Celia develops their love, and there's a lesbian love story which is so sweet. And Sophia, a girl who married Celia's son, and how she is so wild, reckless and free before she got married to his son, and how she became after that, and how Celia is like without saying anything connecting with Sophia. So this is not like telling you about destruction, bloodshed or war, anything, but revolves around certain incidents of history. And color purple signifies the black color, and it totally highlights the racism in American people. And the book is painful. Almost all the historical war stories are painful because there's loss, there's definitely loss, and when you see your characters losing either mentally, physically or dying, you just feel their pain. Now this book also got banned in schools since 1984 because of its sexual content, because of its domestic violence content and everything. And again, as I told you, it's in controversy, that's why I liked it. Read it with a mental preparation. Don't just pick it up and read it. Just read after you are like prepared to read an intense book. Next is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This was published in 2005, and Markus Zusak is an Australian writer. This book is based on World War II during Nazi regime, and this starts with Liesel, the protagonist, coming to her foster parents' house after her younger brother died on a train. She stole a book from where her brother was buried, but she didn't know how to read. Later, she befriended Rudy Stenner in a football match, and Liesel's and Rudy friendship is like friendship goals. And then her foster parents, Rosa Huberman and Han Huberman, concealed a Jew in their basement, and how they just told their little daughter to hide that fact from everyone, even her friend Rudy. Liesel get acquainted with Max, and they developed a bond over time, which was so like what can I say, so emotional. When you read that, you will feel like, oh my god, that's the kind of bond I want in my life. So once Han Huberman was out on the street, and during a prison walk he offered bread to a Jew, which was not appreciated obviously. But when Max got to know this, he just went away because he didn't want Han Huberman to get in trouble. Later, in the climax, a bomb destroyed it all where Liesel lived, destroyed houses. Rudy went on a war, and the climax is so brutally painful, so painful. You can't stop your tears. I challenge you, just can't. And it was so brutal, so painful that everything just stopped for a while I was reading that. And Liesel wrote about everything, or about her observation of a kid during these destructive times, how her innocence is like developed into a maturity because of the circumstances. And that debris, the rescuers find a copy of her book which was saved, which was not destroyed. And in the end, Liesel was working in a shop, and Max returned after everything just cooled down. Max returned, and there was a reunion between Liesel and Max. This is a marvelous, brilliant, excellent book, and I just can't say anything negative about it. There's no point in the con section. It's everything you want to read. It's history, it's child, it's innocence, it's love, it's friendship, and everything. It's parenting, the strictness, rudeness, and the love. It's all in one, and this book is seriously awesome. Next is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Now this was published in 2014 and it got the 2015 Pulitzer Prize in Fiction. Anthony Doerr is an American author and this book is also based somewhat around World War II. Now the protagonist, Laurie Mary, she is a blind girl and lives in Paris, France with her father. The other protagonist, Warner, he is from Germany and he is an orphan who lives with his younger sister. Now this story is about how everything around us is at war, how everything is destroying, how everything is falling apart, how everyone is losing their loved ones during war times, and how these two kids are just dealing with it, are surviving this, are just going through it. Laurie, she has something which is so precious and like people want that, people at war want that. Warner, he has a speciality at fixing technical things, fixing radio, and how in a museum, a secluded museum, he's sitting and listening to the radio and just knowing what happens outside. They can't step out but they are listening to what's happening outside, and this is also painful because you don't want to see kids in these type of situation. Even today, if something is happening bad around us, we want to conceal eyes of kids because we are thinking like they are so young to see all this, they have a whole life to witness us. So this story is from perspective of two kids and everything around them is war. So this is also intense and painful, and this book is also thick, but I can assure you, you won't feel like counting the pages while reading this. Last in the list is The Paris Library by Janet Skeslien, and this was published in 2020 and it is also based around World War II. Janet Skeslien is originally from Montana but she lives in France, and this book also includes two protagonists, one from Paris and one from Montana. This book is about power of literature, power of books, power of friendship, power of love, and this talks about books, how writings, how authors affect a person. The protagonist, Audley Chaucer, she is living like her dream life. She has a lover who loves her so much. She works in a library, American library in Paris, and she is just dug into books and she loves that job. But how a war changed it all for her, how everything starts falling apart. And when everything just started getting back into place, she had a taste of betrayal from one of the persons she expects the least. And then one decision just took her away from all of this. Second protagonist, that is Lily. She lives in Montana and she is a teenager. She is like so curious about her neighbor, and her neighbor is a widow. She lives alone, and Lily wants to know her backstory. Lily wants to know why she came from France to live in Montana. Lily is so curious about this, and one day she just went there and questioned her. So this book is about choices, decisions, about circumstances, how they can just flip everything in your life in single day, in single hour, to say that. So this book talks about literature, talks about power of words, and talks about choices, the choices we make in our lives. How over time, as we grew up, we are totally accepting the choices we made, not blaming them onto situations or some other people. This book I read in 2021 and it's a great book. I also reviewed this individually, so just check it out after this video. And these are 5 books, these are done. And tell me if you have read any of books in the comment, and if you have some favorite historical fiction book, just tell me, because I love to read this genre and I would love to explore some more books. And yeah, like, comment, share and subscribe. And me on Instagram, I am unhauling some books, see if you want any. And yeah, till then, keep reading, be happy, be safe. We'll meet you on next Wednesday. Bye bye.